You ever have one of those meals where you just look in your refrigerator and there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be used up, and so you make some sort of soup or pasta or whatever that just uses up things you need to use? I've heard that referred to as a trash can dish. It is a trash can build. I've had all these mausoleums and tombs hanging around in my bits box for too long, and I really wanted to get rid of them. And so I thought, let's use all of them as walls in a maze-like structure. Also, I have tons of these little trees made for a different scale. These were made to fit trains, and so I thought, why not bushes? So I got an arrangement, and I wanted to really focus on making this playable. So I placed everything in a way that there's lots of cover opportunities, there's some long hallways or long range fighting, there's some up close areas, there's places to hide, there's alternate paths. And one of the things I was most excited about is the hole I'm drilling here, where making secret paths underground. So one of the crypts has a hole in it that leads underground, and those holes lead to a bunch of different areas. One of which is the main mausoleum, the other of which is the hole being dug for a grave, the last of which is a trapdoor that is behind some statues. I didn't actually model the hole the entire way. They're more of just a suggestion of where you can place your minis to hide them, and then just keep track in your head of where you put them. I also wanted to add some playability features to these. These all have peaked roofs, which, knowing that you're building stuff for miniatures, I don't know why everyone does this, but I was putting some scaffolding on to make it look like maybe there was a renovation attempt at some point at this graveyard that was given up on, but the scaffold was left. The main point of this is functionally to allow miniatures to have something to climb on to get a better range. You'll see hints while I'm working on this that I had placed down a bunch of flagstones made from egg cartons. The idea works. It doesn't work the way I did it. You put this big, thick layer of Mod Podge over everything, and it shifts around the stones, and it turns it into a weird mess. So I cut most of that footage out. Really, this stonework on the side is just to give me an excuse to have the foam underneath the build be deep enough to put holes in so that it can look like there's underground tunnels. Golden thin acrylics are pretty thin as is. They're very usable. Their pigmentation is great, which actually creates a problem when you have a zenithal highlight like I've got. If you want any of that zenithal highlight to show through, you need to dilute the paint a good deal. But if you dilute it that much with water, it turns into a wash instead of a glaze. So I like to use matte medium to make it so the original details shine through. I love this little fan brush for dry brushing. I've used the makeup brushes before, the big thick ones, and they work well, but it's really easy for them to accidentally streak, especially if you're impatient like me and you don't take your time getting almost all the paint off of your brush. The fan brush just doesn't have that little internal recess of paint that most brushes do, so it can't hold on to that much paint in the first place. I'm trying to use 2 different base covers to suggest a path, using the darker color to make that S shape that shows the path to take, even though there's lots of different ways to cut across it. I imagine that whoever built this liked to have a maze-like route through the tombs as a method of meditation. Here I'm highlighting in pure yellow and pinlining with black wash. I noticed that the whole piece was getting pretty samey from a color perspective. It was getting hard to pick out the details, and just a dry brush wasn't doing it. And I wanted to make sure that players saw an area that they're meant to interact with that stands out from its environment. All right, here we go. Well, let me give it a spin. Hope you liked my kit bashing, purchased parts, giving them some context through terrain, and I'll see you next time.